Hello, this is Watch It All About with another watch review. This time we're looking at the Hawthorn from the Melbourne Watch Company. This is their second model, and both of their models so far have been funded through Kickstarter. The Hawthorn in particular got a pledge of 51,000 Australian dollars when it only had a $15,000 goal. So it definitely succeeded his plans, with Sue Jane's plans. And because of the first model, the Flinders, I think that's probably the reason why it did so well. So if we have a look at it, currently you can order the watch off the website with an RRP of 295 Australian dollars, which amounts to around £220, which in my mind is a very good price for a watch like this. Obviously, as we go through the specs, we'll be able to see why it is a good price, but I really like it, and I think for the price it is great. So we'll look into it a little bit further now then. So firstly, we'll notice the case. It's 42mm wide. It has a lug-to-lug length of 49mm and a height of 12mm. So it's certainly not a small watch. I think the design and the styling is more of a casual, sporty, tool kind of watch. So I think this size is just right for it. On my 7.5-inch wrist, it fits me pretty perfectly. If I show you, you can see there. Fits perfectly to the wrist, mainly because of those nice curved short lugs, which means it hugs the wrist very well. So the case is all brushed, apart from two very small parts, and that is this edging of the case back, and then the crown is polished as well. So I think it's cool that it's all brushed because it gives it this tool-like appearance, but then these couple of little bits of polished finishing breaks up the case a little bit, and it gives it a nice mix-up. So the finishing and machining of the case is really well done. There's no sharp edges anywhere if you're feeling rubbing your fingers around, and it just all looks really good quality, and it feels good to hold as well. The crown, my only criticism is that it probably looks a little bit too small, and this was the same on the Flinders as well. It could probably do with being a little bit wider, not quite stick out as much. But it is a very small criticism. I mean, it doesn't look ridiculous, but I just think it would have made it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing if it was a little bit of a better shape. So the case back is a screw-in case back. You see these dents here for your tool, your case back remover tool, and we get a good view of the movement there, which we'll discuss in a bit. These details written around are all nicely engraved, very deep. Gives the impression that it's good quality. And if we move on to the crown now, it's a screw-in crown. So unscrew it like so. And thanks to the screw-in crown and case back, it is water resistant to 100 meters or 10 ATM. So the thread feels nice and good on the crown. It feels like you're not going to cross thread it or anything like that. And it has the Melbourne icon etched in the end, which we'll look at closer later on when we get the macro lens on. So one interesting feature is not only is the top a sapphire crystal, but also the case back crystal is sapphire, which is unusual, especially on affordable watches around this price. Usually a manufacturer will just put a mineral crystal on the back just to save costs, because it's not likely to get bashed or damaged or anything. But Sue Jane, the main guy at Melbourne Watch Company, says that he wants every Melbourne watch to last a very long time, and for something for it to be something that the owners are proud to have and are happy to wear constantly. So obviously this increases the resilience to any damage. On the sapphire crystal on the top, it has an excellent layer of anti-reflective coating. If I just give it a wipe down, and it really helps to be able to appreciate the dial with these little features that we'll be discussing shortly. But yeah, it is very good, clear crystal with a good layer of anti-reflective coating, which is good. It's nice to see, because it can really make a real difference on a watch, having a decent layer of coating, anti-reflective coating, so that's good. So moving on to the dial itself, you'll notice the main feature is in the centre. There's a carbon fibre texture. Now, looking at the pictures before I actually received the watch, I wasn't quite so sure about it, but in the flesh it is actually really nice. It's quite subtle, and obviously it gives the watch its main sporty feel. But you can get some quite cheap and nasty carbon fibre finishing, but this is actually really nicely done, and we'll see the quality when we get the macro lens on it. Now, I do like the other features around the dial. We have the applied hour markers, which are nice sporty shape with if we can get a little bit closer. So you see they're rectangular with a channel in the centre for the lume, and then the very bottom is angled down. So that's nice, creates some depth. And also we have the applied border around the day date window as well, which is nice. And these are all polished stainless steel, so that's a nice feature as well. On top of I forgot to mention that on top of the carbon fibre finishing is the logo and the name Hawthorn on their own little raised plaques, which is good because these are then printed on top of this plaque, so it's nice and flat, and which means that the printing is nice and crisp, which is another thing actually. The printing is a lot crisper on the Hawthorn than it was on the Flinders. I thought on the Flinders the printing was a little bit too thick and it looked almost a little bit smudgy, but it's very crisp and very nicely done on the Hawthorn, so that's good. Moving on to the hands, we have these two very thick, bold hands, the minute and the hour hands. They're polished as well with loomed centres, with simple point at the end. And also we have the main feature of the M of the Melbourne as the counterweight on the second hand, which again we saw on the Flinders. That's obviously becoming their main design feature there. Some people say the M's upside down the wrong way. It should be up. It should be the correct way when the hand is pointing at 60, but it doesn't really concern me because it will show M just when it's pointing the other way, so that's not really a problem. Okay, so let's move on to the strap. This is the tan strap, and it is really, really nice. I'm really impressed with it. First of all, the colour is great, and as you wear it, it becomes more distressed, which makes it look even cooler. It's been getting slight discoloration, but again, I think it gives it character and it makes it looks really really cool and more tool-like. So I personally really like it. The quality of the leather is lovely. It's really thick and supple, and you can tell that it's just really high quality. It's really soft on the inside as well, so when you're wearing it, it doesn't irritate or get uncomfortable. And the stitching is thick. The strap loops are both very thick and reassuring as well, and it just feels really high quality, which is great on a watch at this price. So I'm really impressed. 22mm at the lug, which goes down to 20mm at the buckle. So that's the size. The buckle is completely brushed, and it seems to be exactly the same buckle as on the Flinders, which is fair enough, just using the same buckle. Personally, it probably would have been better to be brushed, because then it would have matched the case, and also it would have been more resilient to scratches. Okay, sorry, I was just interrupted then, so I'm stitching two videos together. As I was saying, the polished buckle, I think would have been better if it was brushed, but it's nice that it has this design with the bulbous top where the M Melbourne logo can sit, and as you can see, it has picked up quite a few scratches. I mean, I have been wearing it pretty solidly for a long time, so that's only natural. But obviously, because it is polished, you can see them. So yeah, that's the strap. Very impressed. Let's have a look at the movement. So the movement is a Miyota, and it's 8205. One of their relatively cheap, sturdy, reliable movements. If I get a little bit closer. The specs are that it runs at 21.6 thousand beats per hour, so that equates to 6 ticks a second. So obviously it's not a high beat movement like in the Flinders, which again helps with the cheap price, to be honest, having a cheaper movement. But I mean, it runs really well. The timing side of things, it probably never goes faster than 10 seconds a day, which obviously is completely acceptable with an affordable automatic. The only major issue that maybe for some is that it doesn't have a hacking second hand feature. So if I pull out the stem, you'll notice that I can change the time, but the second hand still continues to go around. So some people may be a bit put off by that because you can't set it perfectly accurately, because you can't set a time to the second. But for me, that's not really a big issue personally, but for some it is. With the day indicator, to set it, you pull it out to the first position, and then you can turn it away from you or clockwise to change the day. And it has a second language, which I believe is probably Chinese. And then you turn it towards you to change the date, like so. It has a hand wind capability, so I'm winding it now, and obviously it's an automatic. So there you go. Not the most beautiful, but I think in this instance it works quite well, having a decent industrial tool-like look. Okay, so let's get the macro lens on, and we'll have a look at it closer up. So let's start with the dial, and we'll just give the crystal a wipe. So here we can see the carbon fibre texture. Get a better angle. There we go. See, it's decent quality texture. If we have a look at the logo on its little plaque. So that's nicely done. And the date window with a nice applied border, polished stainless steel. It holds up well under the macro lens. It looks really well executed and applied and made. And then next to it we have the hour markers, which are again applied and polished stainless steel, so they catch the light nicely when you hit it. There we go. I forgot to mention actually the lume used is super luminova, and it's really good. It charges up really well, and it shows pretty quickly, and it lasts a long time as well. So it's really bright. So again, at a watch at this price, it's really impressive to see lume of that quality. So here's one of the hands, again flawlessly made, polished stainless steel, so they look nicely done. and then the second hand, the red second hand with the M as the counterweight. We also have this minute and second track around the outside on the Rehort, which is the printing is all very good as well. So if we just have a look at some of the brushed finishing on the case, you can see it's all very uniform and nicely done. If we move over now to the crown, we see the logo etched quite deeply on the end, which is good. Nice and reassuring, and then the grip is nice and deep as well. So although it is a little bit smaller, you can grip it nicely and change the time easily, so that's good. Okay, so if we move over now to the case back. So here's the deep etching of the details on the case back. Again, it's really reassuring to see how deep it is, because it just gives you the feeling that it is a really high quality watch, and they've put a lot of effort into making it, which is good. And then if we have a look at the movement, if I can get the balance wheel, there she is ticking away. Very plain and simple movement, nothing too elegant about it, but it does exactly what it should do. You can sometimes see slightly the just around the outer edge, the plastic movement holder, which you can see sometimes at some angles. Just thought I'd mention it. Okay, so just moving on to the strap now. Let's just have a look at the top side. You can see how soft it is, and the thick stitching as well. And the side is nicely, very well sealed. Then the underside, have Melbourne printed there. And again, you can see just how soft it is, really, just from looking at it. And again, triple stitched on the end there. It's really impressive, really good. And then have a quick look at the loops. These are lovely and thick. And then just the buckle, so here we go. So that's all polished with its scratch marks on it from using it. And there's the Melbourne icon etched deeply on the top as well. Okay, so I'll put it back on for some wrist shots. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention actually is the size of the strap is actually really good, because I think I've got quite a fairly average 7.5 inch wrist, and it's on the 4th out of 8 holes. So there is plenty of movement for people with much larger wrists, but also it has, you know, the ability to cater for people with smaller wrists as well, which is really important, because some watch manufacturers don't really bother with small wrist people, but with this strap you'd probably be covered, which is good. Okay, so do I like the Hawthorn? Yes, I absolutely love it. I think the design is spot on. Like I mentioned before, when I first saw the pictures, I wasn't quite so sure, but in the flesh, it really is really well designed, and it looks amazing as well. You can just tell that it's a high quality watch when you look at it, mainly because of, you know, the build quality of the case, the anti-reflective coating on the sapphire crystal, and just the design in general. It looks really, really nice. So Sue Jane has done a fantastic job with this, and I'll most certainly be keeping this for a very long time. It's one of my favourites. So that's what it's all about, and this was the Melbourne Hawthorn.